Hey, folks, this is Mike with the Battles of the First World War podcast. So, today we are talking the new Ypres League and Ypres Day. So, we'll start off with a few words on the new Ypres League. And I'm going to quote Professor Mark Connolly here. So, Professor Connolly has written in the past that a remembrance project aimed at preserving the memory of soldiers from all nations who fell in the Ypres salient during the Great War. The new Ypres League is based on the original Ypres League that was present in Ypres in the years after the First World War. Formed in September 1920 by Colonel Henry Beckles Wilson, the original Ypres League was the first British remembrance organization of its kind. With King George V as patron-in-chief and Lord French as president, the League quickly expanded and by the 1930s had branches not only in Great Britain but all over the world. Membership was originally aimed at veterans who had served in the Ypres salient and families of men who fell in the salient. These members were presented with a coveted certificate of membership on joining. Membership was also available to the general public, but these members received no certificate. By the 1930s, the League numbered several thousand members and could name such personalities as Lord Haig, Sir Fabian Ware, Lord Plumer, and Beatrice Bryce as committee members amongst many notable others. The League had specific aims which evolved over time as each were achieved. They were responsible for the foundation of St. George's Memorial Church in Ypres, the placing of demarcation stones at key points in the Ypres salient, recording the locations of cemeteries and memorials, and assisting thousands of pilgrims on their trips to the salient. In order to achieve these aims, the League launched several publications, including the iconic Ypres Times and Beatrice Bryce's book, The Immortal Salient. A map was produced for pilgrims visiting the area, outlining the old front lines and the battlefield sites where their loved ones fought and fell. The League also produced badges, ties, and blazer badges for their supporters to purchase and so raise funds for the League. The advent of the Second World War was to see the end of the Ypres League in its beloved city of Ypres, and this once great and influential organization was consigned to the history books. And as a reminder, if you're new to the First World War, then we'll start with just a few quick basics here. So Ypres, Y-P-R-E-S, is named Ypres, I-E-P-E-R, today. Ypres, or Ypres, as it was called by the millions of British Tommies who served here throughout the Great War, was the site of at least 3 massive battles during the war. And again, as I've done in the past, speaking as an American here, Ypres today is practically a British town, and that is not meant in a negative way. It is easy to see because the city, as well as its fields and hills and nearby villages outside its gates, these are holy ground to the United Kingdom and to the British military. Some 200,000 members of the BEF fell in battle here, and tens of thousands remain unrecovered from the Flanders fields all around them. Ypres holds a special place in the heart of British remembrance of the Great War, symbolized every evening by the playing of the last post at Menin Gate. And that is a moving ceremony not to be missed. So that is just a quick introduction to the city of Ypres, Belgium. And joining us today are Lady Lucy French and Roger Steward of the new Ypres League, here to discuss the events and significance of Ypres Day on October 31st of this year, 2026. Just going to start with a quick introduction. Lady Lucy French is the great-granddaughter of Sir John Denton Pinkstone French, 1st Earl of Ypres, Viscount French of Ypres and of High Lake. Field Marshal Sir John French was the commander of the British Expeditionary Force from the beginning of the First World War in August 1914 until December of 1915. Lady French is the honorary president of the new Ypres League, and through the League and other areas remains closely connected to the city of Ypres. Roger Steward, as you will recall, is a good friend, as well as a battlefield tour guide in the Ypres area. He's also the author of 2 books, Studentenfriedhof to Soldatenfriedhof and Reclaiming the Salient. Roger is also the chairman and co-founder of the new Ypres League. Lady French, Roger, thank you so very much for taking the time to come on the podcast this evening.
It's very good to be here.
Thank you, Mike. And it's a pleasure to be invited onto the Battles of the First World War podcast. So thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Oh, my God. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we will begin with Lady French. What does it mean to be the honorary president of the new Ypres League?
I think for me, it's incredibly important. I grew up with tales of my great grandfather and the battles in Ypres and his military career. And from very early on in my life, I knew that Ypres was a very important place for him. And I was so honoured and delighted when Roger invited me to take on the role to really sort of step into my great-grandfather's footsteps in a way, something that is very meaningful for me and the family.
Okay. Thank you for that. So just talking about the new Ypres League, aim number 3 on the new Ypres League website is to, quote, to reinstate Ypres Day, October 31st, as a commemoration day in the city of Ypres. So what is Ypres Day and what is its significance and how far back does it go?
Okay, Mike. So the League formed in 1920, and the first record we've got of the Ypres League commemorating Ypres Day is in 1921. So the following year after they were actually formed. It was the original day of commemoration for the Ypres League, but not just in the city of Ypres, but also majorly in the UK, but across the world as well, because the League had branches all the way around the world. They had branches in New Zealand, Australia, Canada, America, of course, as well. They even had a branch in Spain at one point, which has come to light reasonably recently. The significance of it was a major significant event at the time because it gave veterans and families a focal point for remembrance. Because you have to remember, at the end of the First World War, when the British government announces the policy of no repatriation, lots of families then lose the opportunity, to visit graves of their loved ones, on a regular basis because of cost and, of course, because of distances travelled as well. So by commemorating Ypres Day on October 31st, it gave the families really an opportunity to recognise the sacrifice, made by these men, but also it kind of gave them an element of closure as well, and it provided a direct link really between the families and the Ypres salient as well. So the Ypres League becomes almost like a brotherhood really of veterans and family members who either served or lost family members during the First World War in the Ypres salient. And in order to kind of pull these people together on Ypres Day, the Ypres League actually decided to make the symbol of the cornflower their symbol of remembrance on Ypres Day itself. Interesting.
I know the bluet, the cornflower, is the French symbol of remembrance.
Correct, yeah.
For the Great War. That's really interesting. Of course, with the poppy being the major symbol of
yeah, I mean, the poppy in terms of the major symbol, of course, it comes about primarily because, the In Flanders Fields poem, and the John McCrae poem as well. But when you start reading soldiers' accounts of the Ypres salient, plenty of them printed in the Ypres Times, the old Ypres League journal, which they published every quarter. Apparently, cornflowers grew in abundance in the salient as well as the poppy. So that's one reason the League chose to adopt this. The other reason was, it was the favourite flower of Sir John French himself. So that's another reason why the League actually adopted that. And one of his favourite colours was cornflower blue. Hence why I'm a bit overdressed, so I'm wearing my Ypres League tie today, because we adopted those colours, as the Ypres League did originally as well. And we're actually trying to revive this idea of wearing a cornflower purely on Ypres Day, as the Ypres League did. And we've designed a commemorative pin badge to sell, again, like the Ypres League, as you mentioned, to raise funds. Now, I have to be, very upfront. Every money we raise through this goes directly to the Ypres League, and then in turn directly into events we plan here, restoration of monuments, all sorts of things as well. So the money people invest in maybe a pin badge or a tie or whatever goes back into the Ypres salient. So by doing so, they can make the real difference. So this is the pin badge, and the backing, of course, as well. So these will be available later later towards Ypres Day itself. So we're encouraging people to wear a pin badge or a cornflower pin badge on Ypres Day.
I love the whole thing. So that is the pin and then the paper backing.
That's correct. Yeah, yeah.
That paper backing would be pinned right up there. Like I wouldn't even want to throw it away. It's so beautifully done.
Just one.
Yeah. We could wallpaper it. Roger, I didn't have this in here. October 31st. Is there a significance to that date as far as Ypres Day commemoration?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, in terms of the British Army and the Ypres League during the First World War, the importance of the Ypres salient is it's the gateway to Calais. It's the gateway to the Channel ports.
Right.
And October the 31st, 1914, is one of the major dates during the First Battle of Ypres, when the German momentum actually was stopped on the gates of Ypres. So it's a very significant date in terms of that, and that's the reason why the Ypres League adopted October the 31st.
Gotcha. Wow. So Ypres Day, talking about commemoration, I just while I was listening to you talking, Roger, it's funny. I felt a similar connection to the Men in Gate, with Lord Plumer's famous quote of he's not missing, he's here. And
correct, yeah.
That commemoration day, it offers a sort of similar spirit of like.
That's actually quite interesting because Lord Plumer, when after he's made his speech at the Men in Gate on 24th of July 1927, he then goes up to the site of where St George's Memorial Church has been built, which Sir John French had been a key figure in terms of raising the money for the church to be built himself. And he lays the foundation stone. And of course, as Sir John French had passed by that point, the president of the Ypres League at that point was Lord Plumer. So again, you got that link, with the Ypres League, on that aspect as well. But Ypres Day itself was huge at the time. There were ceremonies all over the world on Ypres Day. I say partly because of the branches everywhere, but particularly in the Cenotaph in London. So on October the 31st, the Ypres League would have a large commemoration at the Cenotaph. It would be attended by British royalty at the time, First World War generals, dignitaries as well. One of the main patrons of the Ypres League at the time was Princess Beatrice. Now, Princess Beatrice was the mother of Prince Maurice of Battenberg. And Prince Maurice is the only member of the British royal family to be killed in the First World War. And he was killed in 1914, just on the outskirts of Ypres. And he's now buried in Ypres Town Cemetery. So there's lots of photographs as well as of Princess Beatrice laying wreaths at the Cenotaph during different years for Ypres Day as well. And the Ypres League wreaths, if you can actually find some photographs of them, they were huge, really, really impressive. So it was, as I say, a major event at the time.
Amazing. So we've been talking about the commemoration and everything. And Lady French, you mentioned earlier that Ypres had a great deal of significance to Sir John French. Could you speak more about that?
Yes, I mean, I think of all the sort of theatres of war, Ypres had a very special place in his heart. I think he had great empathy with the men that served under him, and I think he really struggled with the losses. I think he carried something of his men with him always. I don't think he ever really recovered. And he the affection I think that the old contemptibles had for French was, was immense. And my dear aunt, French's granddaughter, sadly passed away now, but used to take the old contemptibles back to Ypres every year. First of all, in a great big coach, then a minibus, and then finally the last two old boys sitting in the back of her car, and they would go and they would talk about their lost friends. They would go and reminisce, and I think it was so vital that we continued to mark that memory. And so I think French would be so delighted to know that the new Ypres League has taken hold, because the St George's Church and the whole city were so critical to him and his needing to remember what had happened. And so I think, given the world that we're seeing today, the geopolitical tumult that's escalating, it's vital that we remember what happened during the Ypres salient. And so I don't think there's ever been more necessity for the new Ypres League and its work. The instant that we cease to remember, we're in real peril.
Yes, very, very well said, and very accurate as well. Very accurate as well. When, these World War I is now largely out of living memory. Everyone
has gone.
Yeah, everyone has gone, and in World War II is rapidly approaching that as well. And you're going to start to hear things about well, it wasn't that bad during that time. No, it very much was. Yes, and in a sense, let's remember everyone we lost, and let's remember how bad those times were, so that we don't sit here and repeat it. Absolutely. So moving on back to Ypres Day, what support does the city of Ypres and other remembrance organizations provide for Ypres Day?
Well, to be honest, Mike, massive support. When you bear in mind this is our third Ypres Day, so our first Ypres Day was incredibly low key. It was just myself and Dominic, attending the Menin Gate and laying a wreath. Mm-hmm. Last year it grew again, and we happened to have, just by chance, a British Scout band, and they marched with us to the Menin Gate with other remembrance organisations as well. But this year it really seems to have taken hold in people's imagination and consciousness as well. So the major support we get, first of all, is our honorary vice president is the Mayor of Ypres, Katrine de Summer. And we asked Katrine if she would like to become vice president, because historically the Mayor of Ypres in the 1920s was, again, in that role. And happily for us, she agreed to do that, which gives us kind of a nice sense of credibility, here in the town itself. The town do actively support us. They're always willing to listen to our requests and help us with the permits and everything else as well. But also the support now from local organisations as well. So I approached a local pipe band, Ypres Surrey Pipes and Drums, and they are fantastic. Over 30 band members, and they jumped at the chance to parade with us to the Menin Gate on the evening on the 31st, which is just amazing. So I'd like to put on record, our thanks, to those guys. All the standard bearers now. There's lots of Belgium and British organisations in the area and outside the area as well. We've invited all the standard bearers, so hopefully we're going to get a large turnout of standards, of course, not just our own, but other organisations as well. Because part of the aim of Ypres Day in modern day terms is very similar to what yourself and Lady Lucy were just discussing. It's bringing people together, bringing organisations together, so we can remember what went on here and hopefully learn the lessons as well. Lots of local mayors have been invited, and some of those will be attending. remembrance organisations, the Tank Memorial, Ypres Salient, Belgium organisations as well, the Entente, for example, elements of the RBL will be attending as well. And of course, we've got a great connection because of the history with Sir John French, with St George's Memorial Church. So they will be taking part. The chaplain, Reverend Richard, is going to lay a wreath on behalf of the church in the evening. And on the Sunday, we will, our members will be attending the Sunday morning service there. So the answer to your question is we do get, this year in particular now, a lot of support. And of course, I can't, go without mentioning the Last Post Association. The Last Post Association, very open to us to, organising this ceremony and parade into the gate. And so I'd like to put on record thanks to all the organisations, other organisations in Ypres and the surrounding area as well, for helping us, achieve what we want to achieve, on Ypres Day.
Oh, it's fantastic. So good to see it. It's obviously growing and becoming a bigger and wider, more widely recognized event. That's wonderful to hear, especially because it symbolizes, people, as you said, people coming together and remembering. My God, that's fantastic.
I think the city has really taken it to its heart, which has been so fantastic to see.
Yeah, I totally agree, Lady French, and it's very as you say, it's very fantastic to see. It's very heartening to see the enthusiasm that that people have for this. But obviously, they can see a value. As you say, in the current political climate, they can see a value in us doing this.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So, final question here is, I guess I have two, but we'll merge them here, I guess. So, what will we see featured in this year's Ypres Day events, and how can folks participate? What is the best way for them to get connected to Ypres Day?
So in terms of the events, it's actually quite a full weekend. So we're starting on Friday the 30th, and we're organising, I don't know if you guys are aware, we've mentioned it on a previous podcast, we're raising money to renovate the demarcation stone. So I've got a little model of a demarcation stone here so you guys can see them. And we're organising a charity walk to cover the 7 Ypres League demarcation stones in the area. So the walk will be going on the Friday the 30th. And then in the evening, we'll be organising a fundraising pub quiz in Mary's Irish Bar in Ypres. Everyone can attend to that as well. Again, we're raising money towards the demarcation stone project and the new Ypres League. So that really starts off on the Friday the 30th. The main day really of events is the Saturday, of course, of the 31st. And we start off with a tour in the morning of Hill 60 by, the co-founder of the new Ypres League and eminent historian from the area here, Dominic Dendoven. So Dominic is going to organise a tour of Hill 60, particularly looking at, which will be quite interesting, the German evacuation routes as well, which is an area which is not often covered. Okay. And then in the afternoon, the town had given us permission. We were able to put our tents. We bought a promotional tent so that can go up in the town square. And which is fantastic. One of our members, Chris Brown. Chris is actually fully qualified, if you will, but a town crier in the UK. So Chris is going to turn up. He's going to come and perform in the square with his announcements and try and encourage people to come to the tent so people can learn about Ypres Day itself. And Chris will be kitted out in full regalia, which will be, I think, it'll be fantastic. A lot of the local people here will be quite alien to that, so they'll be quite interested in that as well. And then in the afternoon, there's a small reception in the town hall. The town have offered us a small reception to say thank you to the walkers, the fundraisers who have taken part on the day. The big thing, though, is the parade in the evening. So at 7 o'clock, we muster at the Belgian War Memorial. Now, we decided to do this year because the Ypres League actually commemorated Belgian soldiers as well who fell in the Ypres salient. And as we're an Ypres-based organisation, it's only correct. But, of course, we commemorate the Belgian fallen in the Great War as well. So we start our parade with a wreath-laying ceremony at the Belgian War Memorial. And then we parade with the standards and the Ypres Surrey pipes and drums and members as well up to the Menin Gate. where the Last Post Association have graciously given us permission to, of course, lay wreaths at the Menin Gate as well. And then in the evening, we have like a group dinner in Mary's Irish pub. Then Sunday, we all attend the church service at St. George's, or whoever wants to. But then the big thing really is the unveiling of the Hellfire Corner demarcation stone. That will be taken away in early October to be renovated by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. So again, thank you to the War Graves Commission for doing this on our behalf. And we've also gained permission as well for the first time for an information board to be placed next to the demarcation stone. So the information board will tell the story of three aspects. It will tell the story of the Ypres League, and their links to the demarcation stones. It will tell the story of the demarcation stones as well, but also importantly, the historical importance of the siting of Hellfire Corner, because a lot of enthusiasts will know the importance of Hellfire Corner, but there is nothing there pretty much really to say this is what it was. So now we've got a part on the information board to explain to people Hellfire Corner, and the history of it. So that's going to be one of the big events, the unveiling of the stone and the panel. That will take place at Hellfire Corner at 1:00 on Sunday, the 1st of November. So as you can see, it's a pretty packed weekend.
It is.
But yeah, it's going to be great. Really looking forward to it.
Me too. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, it'll be great to see everybody. Everybody of the same mind. It's going to be a special weekend.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, I hope to see lots of pictures, lots of video.
Yes.
Really excited for you. And I hope it's a big success, and I hope I can make it over there one of these times. This is fantastic. Well, Lady French, Roger, thank you once again for taking the time to come on the podcast this evening and to talk about Ypres Day. So folks, if you have any more questions, please do check out newypresleague.com. Please consider becoming a member. It is a very worthy organization. And if you are in the area of Ypres or close to it, I think you should mark this into your calendar. It's going to be quite the weekend. It's going to be incredible. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Can I just add one thing, Mike? Do you mind?
Of course.
If people want to get involved, please look at the website. There's always information going up on the website, on Instagram, on Facebook as well. But please consider becoming a member. The membership money is important to us because it helps us fund what we do here, in the Ypres salient in terms of attending burials of recently recovered soldiers, for example, and of course the renovation of different monuments and events we plan to do in the future as well. And by becoming a member as well, you become part of this, and you're actually putting something back into the Ypres salient. So as I mentioned to you earlier, every penny we raise goes back into the Ypres salient. None of it goes out of the area. So from our perspective, people becoming members is a very important thing, and will help us, keep doing this for years to come. So I hope, people would consider. Thanks for that, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. No, I must say, I think when I have had the privilege to attend with Roger, wreath laying at some of the newly identified soldiers' graves, it is so poignant and so powerful and so important that we do really show that utmost respect to those newly identified soldiers. It means so much to their families. Please do all support if you can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you once again for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Lovely to see you.
Been a pleasure, Mike. Thank you.